Welcome to our deep dive. This one I think is going to be pretty exciting for you guys. We're going to be talking about Neville Goddard, and we're not going to talk about just like the basics. We're really going to deep dive into how to practically use his teachings based on a bunch of excerpts that we have from his books.
Yeah, it's amazing how Neville Goddard really brings together this kind of mystical perspective with practical techniques.
Yeah,
And really, it all boils down to the power of your imagination. It's not just theory.
exactly.
It's a system for actually shaping the reality that you experience.
And the journey begins with Neville himself. Like, he wasn't always this mystical figure. You know, he actually started his career in theater as a dancer.
A dancer?
A dancer.
Wow. From the stage to exploring the depths of consciousness.
Oh.
Really interesting. You know, it was during his time in England,
Uh-huh.
back in 1925, that his interest in mysticism really blossomed.
Mm.
And he even joined Rosicrucian order, embracing these strict practices like vegetarianism and sexual continence.
Oh, wow. Commitment. And he actually reported some pretty wild psychic experiences during that time, like involuntary astral projections, moments of clairvoyance.
Yeah,
It really seems like these experiences directly shaped his teachings.
absolutely. And this is where we get to the core of Neville's work, this belief that consciousness is the ultimate reality,
Okay.
and your imagination is the tool that shapes it. He believed that what you truly believe and feel to be true,
Uh-huh.
your subconscious mind just accepts it
Yeah.
and manifests it into your world.
So you're saying that if I can control my imagination, control my beliefs, I can actually control my reality.
Precisely.
Wow.
But, you know, Neville did also acknowledge that this might come more naturally to women.
Okay.
He made the observation that women, they're often more in touch with their emotions
Yeah.
and are able to evoke the feelings that are necessary for manifesting their desires. Men, on the other hand,
Yeah.
they might have to overcome a hurdle here because they are often conditioned to suppress their feelings.
That's such an interesting point. But how exactly does this work?
Yeah.
How do we use our imagination to actually manifest our desires? I mean,
Right.
Neville had a very unique interpretation of the Bible. He didn't believe that it was a historical account, but he thought that it was a psychological drama playing out within each of us.
I love that. It's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
And he saw those biblical figures
Yeah.
as representing different aspects of our own minds. So think of it as a map of your consciousness
Yeah.
waiting to be explored
Okay.
and understood.
I like that. So is that where the stories come in?
Yeah.
He would use stories like the one with Jacob receiving Isaac's blessing
Yes.
to illustrate how feelings can shape reality.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Isaac was blind and he intended to bless his eldest son Esau,
Uh-huh.
but Jacob, the younger son, disguised himself.
Yeah.
And because Isaac was relying on feeling, he actually blessed the wrong son.
He did.
Ah,
That really shows the power of our feelings. I mean, they can be so powerful.
yeah.
They can override physical circumstances even.
Wow.
And Neville believed that you could actually use biblical stories like this as tools
Okay.
for visualization
Yeah.
and truly feeling your desires into being.
So it's not that we're just reading the Bible for its literal meaning, but we're using it as a way to look at our own inner workings. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the most profound concepts that emerges from this is this idea, the significance of I am.
right. I am. That simple statement, but with Neville's teachings, it has immense power. What exactly did he say about that?
He believed that your awareness of being, that I am, that's your God power. It's your ability to define and create your reality.
Yeah.
He even drew upon a biblical quote, "If you believe not that I am he, you shall die in your sins."
Wow.
And it's the way of emphasizing that potential danger of denying this power within yourself.
So it's not just acknowledging your existence, it's acknowledging that you have the power to create and shape and become.
Become, yes.
Like, you're stepping into this role of being a conscious creator.
Exactly.
Okay, but then the question is, how do we actually use that power? How do we manifest our desires?
Well, Neville really emphasizes the importance of feeling the reality of your desires.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just mean thinking about them or wishing for them, but truly feeling them as if they were already true.
Okay.
Feeling is the secret to manifestation, he would say.
Feeling is the secret. Okay, that's a powerful statement. What exactly does that mean, though? Like, how do we cultivate that deep feeling?
It's about immersing yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Mm.
It's going beyond just simply visualizing your desire.
Okay.
You need to step into the feeling of it, as if it were already a part of your reality. Let's say you're trying to manifest a new job.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you wouldn't just picture yourself working there.
Yeah.
You would feel the excitement,
Yeah.
the satisfaction, the sense of accomplishment that comes with having that job.
So it's like method acting. You fully embody the role, the feeling, until it becomes second nature.
Exactly. You're not just thinking about it, you're living it in your imagination.
Wow.
And that brings us to another really important aspect of Neville's teachings, which is this concept of the Sabbath.
The Sabbath, like a day of rest.
Yeah.
How does that play into this?
Well, Neville interpreted the Sabbath as a state of mental rest. It's like after you've successfully impressed your desire upon your subconscious mind, you enter this time where you're not striving, you're not worrying.
Oh, I see. So it's like planting a seed. You've planted the seed. You don't have to keep digging it up to check on it. You trust that it's going to grow.
Exactly. You trust. Once you've felt the reality of that desire, you can enter the Sabbath.
Yeah.
This state of mental rest, knowing that you've done the work and the universe will take care of the rest.
So it's about letting go of that need to control and allowing the process to unfold naturally.
Yes.
But this is starting to make a lot of sense now. So I've got the power of I am, the importance of feeling, the idea of mental rest. Are there any other techniques that Neville talked about?
Oh, absolutely. He shared a whole toolbox of techniques. One that stands out is the two birds technique. And he drew this from a biblical story about curing leprosy.
Two birds.
Two birds, yeah.
Okay, I'm interested. How does that work?
So in this technique, you visualize two birds, and one bird represents your problem, and the other bird represents the solution. So you kill the problem bird by withdrawing your attention from it. And then you dip the solution bird in the blood of your consciousness, essentially immersing it in the feeling of reality.
So it's like symbolically letting go of what you don't want and embracing what you do want.
Exactly. It's about shifting that focus from the problem to the solution, from lack to abundance.
I like it.
But even with powerful techniques like the two birds, Neville reminds us that, sometimes lasting change really requires persistence and revision.
Persistence and revision. So even if we're doing everything right, we might need to keep at it.
That's right. You see, achieving our desires, it's not often a one-time thing.
Yeah.
It's about consistently revising our mental state, returning to that feeling of the wish fulfilled until it becomes as natural as breathing.
So like learning a new skill, it takes practice and repetition.
Exactly. And speaking of practice and repetition, Neville shared some incredible stories about students of his that achieved amazing results just by applying these principles.
I love a good success story.
Oh, yeah. Well, one that always stands out for me is this story of a student of his who desperately wanted to be discharged from the Army. And he had all of these seemingly impossible obstacles.
Wow.
But he persisted in these nightly visualizations of being back home, feeling the relief and joy of freedom. And eventually, despite all odds, his discharge came through.
That's powerful. It shows the importance of not giving up on your desires, even when things look really bleak.
Absolutely. Keep nurturing those seeds of desire. Keep feeling the reality of what you want. And trust in the process.
So it's not just about visualizing once and hoping for the best. It's about this consistent, focused effort to revise our mental state until it actually aligns with our desires.
It is. And that's where Neville's stories really come alive.
Okay.
He shares so many captivating examples of people using these techniques to manifest incredible things.
Yeah.
From landing dream jobs to finding love to even healing relationships, these stories demonstrate the power of imagination and that transformative potential that lies within each of us.
So he uses those real-life stories to make these concepts so much more tangible and relatable.
Absolutely.
It's not just abstract theory, it's something that we can actually put into practice.
It is. He wanted to empower people to take control of their lives and create the reality that they truly desired. And I think that's what makes his work so enduring and inspiring.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Neville's background, his concept of I am, the importance of feeling, the Sabbath, the two birds technique, persistence, and revision. I feel like it's a lot to digest.
It is a lot.
What are some of the key takeaways that you think are most important for our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that we are not victims of circumstance.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape our reality. And it all starts with our thoughts and beliefs and feelings and using our imagination as a tool.
Right. And it's not just about getting what we want in the material world. It's about awakening to our true nature as creators.
Yes.
And shaping a reality that really reflects our highest potential. But I really want to hear more about how these principles work in practice.
Yeah.
I'm eager to hear some of those incredible success stories you mentioned.
Oh, I'm happy to share. We've got some truly mind-blowing stories lined up.
Awesome. So you mentioned some amazing success stories from Neville's books.
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
So get this, one man manifested buying a building by repeatedly visualizing his family name above the entrance.
Oh, wow.
And there's another story about this boy who wanted a collie dog so bad that he just persisted in his imagination even though his family had objections. And eventually he got his collie.
Okay, those are pretty good, but they're kind of common manifestation goals, I feel like. Do you have anything like a little more unique?
Unique.
Yeah.
Well, how about this one? This woman wanted to land her dream job. So every night before sleep, she would assume the feeling of closing the deal, the handshake, the excitement, everything. And guess what?
She got the job.
She got the job.
That is pretty cool. So these stories really highlight the power of consistent, focused imagination.
Yes.
Even when the odds are stacked against you.
Especially when the odds are stacked against you. And there's also the story of this couple who wanted a penthouse apartment.
Okay.
You know, those are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Hard to come by. But they persisted in feeling the reality of living in that penthouse. And guess what?
They got it.
They got it.
That's amazing. But what about using this power for things that aren't like material possessions?
Yeah.
Can you use these techniques to improve relationships or even like change past events?
Absolutely. And Neville talks about this a lot. It's the power of revision.
Okay.
How you can actually change your mental pictures of past events to create a better future.
Oh, okay.
And there's this one woman who used this to improve her relationship with her daughter-in-law. And she would just mentally revise the memory of a really unpleasant conversation focusing on love and harmony. And her relationship with both her daughter-in-law and grandson improved.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're not just talking about changing your external reality. You're talking about changing your internal reality, your memories.
Your memories, beliefs.
Yeah, beliefs, your perceptions. That's really powerful stuff.
It is. And speaking of reshaping reality, Neville drew this fascinating connection between the power of imagination and a biblical parable, the parable of the unjust steward.
Okay. I remember that parable, but I don't quite see the connection. How does that fit in?
Well, if you remember, the steward, he kind of cooked the books to secure his future. And Neville saw that as this really interesting metaphor for how we can intentionally change our mental picture of past events to create a better future.
So you're saying it's like not lying to yourself about the past, but choosing a more empowering perspective that can help you move forward.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that your memories are not set in stone. You can choose to focus on the aspects that serve you and just let go of the ones that are holding you back.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Okay, so we've been talking about imagination, feeling, but what about our everyday thoughts? Do those have any role in manifesting our desires? Like we spend so much time in our heads just thinking.
All the time, yeah. And Neville really believed that our inner conversations, those inner conversations which really reflect our imagination, they directly shape our reality. And he connected that to the biblical quote, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God."
So we're not just passively receiving thoughts. We're actually actively creating our reality through the things that we say to ourselves, even if it's silent.
Yeah.
It's like our thoughts are these little seeds that we're planting.
Yes.
And they're going to grow into the reality that we experience.
That's a great analogy. Every thought, every mental image that you create, it's like a brushstroke on the canvas of your life.
I like that.
And that raises a crucial question, what kind of picture are you painting?
Yeah, exactly. Are we focusing on lack and limitation and negativity? Or are we focusing on our desires and abundance and joy?
That's the question. Neville even shared this anecdote about this woman who manifested a loaf of bread.
Okay.
Just by vividly imagining it. It might sound simple, but it really highlights this tangible power of our inner conversations.
So the takeaway is be mindful of our inner dialogue.
Be mindful. Yeah.
Choose our thoughts carefully. Okay, got it. But what about when our desires seem very far off? Like, how do we bridge that gap between where we are and where we want to be?
Well, Neville talks about this, about the importance of shifting your focus, of imagining to the desired state, even if it seems really distant or improbable. He really believed that our imagination can transcend physical boundaries. Okay, that sounds like science fiction. Are there any examples of this? There are. There's one that he shared about this woman who was mentally projecting herself to her daughter's living room in London, even though she was physically miles away. And guess what? Her daughter saw her.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. So it's like our imagination can create a bridge between our inner world and the outer world.
Exactly. And in another example, there's this woman who wanted to rent her apartment, but it wasn't in super high demand. So she mentally moved into her country home and just completely immersed herself in the feeling of being there. And shortly after that, she got a call, and her apartment had been rented.
That's amazing. So distance is no barrier.
Distance is no barrier.
For the power of imagination.
No, it's a very empowering thought.
It is. It really is. Okay, so this leads us to another powerful concept that runs through all of Neville's teachings.
Yeah.
The power of revision and redemption.
Yes.
We've talked about revision in terms of our memories.
Yeah.
But what about redemption?
Well, Neville believed that we have the power to not just revise our memories, but to mentally redeem others, especially in challenging relationships. And he often encouraged his students to just mentally rewrite the narratives of their relationships, focusing on the positive and letting go of any resentment or negativity.
So choose to see the best in others, even when they aren't showing their best.
Yes. And he believed that by doing so, we could actually create a ripple effect that leads to real transformation.
That's amazing. Do you have an example?
Yeah, one of the most moving ones that he shared was about this teacher who had this really troubled student.
Oh, okay.
And instead of focusing on the student's negative behaviors, the teacher consciously made a decision to mentally redeem the student, to imagine him as bright and capable and well-behaved. And you know what? The student's behavior actually changed, reflecting the teacher's revised perception of him.
That's incredible. It highlights the power we have to influence not just our reality, but the reality of others around us as well.
It's interconnected. And this brings us to this crucial point that Neville really emphasized throughout his teachings, and that's the responsibility that comes with using our imagination. He connected the concept of God to human imagination, suggesting that we are all co-creators. We have this really powerful tool, but there are consequences to that.
So it's not just about getting what we want. It's about recognizing that our thoughts and beliefs have an impact on the world around us as well.
Exactly. And as we explore these profound ideas, it's important to remember that Neville really emphasized these two things: faith and self-abandonment.
Okay.
They're essential for manifesting our desires.
Okay, let's unpack that. What did he mean by faith in this context?
Well, faith for Neville wasn't about blind belief or religious dogma. It was this deep inner conviction that what you desire is already yours even before you see it.
So it's about trusting the process, trusting the power of our imagination, even when things haven't quite manifested yet.
Exactly. And self-abandonment, that's about surrendering to that feeling of faith, letting go of any doubts or fears that might be holding you back.
It's like taking a leap of faith and trusting that the universe has got your back.
The universe has got you. And it really ties into another concept that Neville emphasized, the idea of thinking from the end. He said that instead of just thinking about your desires, think from the perspective of already having them.
So instead of, I want this, it's, I am this. It's about embodying the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Embodying, yes.
Right.
As if it were already your reality.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
Okay, so we've gone over a lot. From the power of imagination to biblical symbolism to practical techniques, success stories. And it's clear that Neville's work goes far beyond just getting what we want.
Oh, yeah.
In the material world.
It's about a transformation of consciousness, awakening to our true nature.
Yeah.
As powerful creators.
And it's so exciting to think about how these principles can apply to every area of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Our relationships, our careers, our health, our spiritual growth.
It really does. And as we delve deeper into Neville's teachings, we'll really see how he weaves together those biblical stories, those psychological insights, with these practical techniques.
I can't wait. It's interesting as we go through all this stuff how revolutionary Neville's ideas were, especially for the time that he was writing. He was talking about these concepts way back when.
Back in the mid-20th century, long before, the whole manifestation thing became mainstream.
Exactly.
He was ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time. And even today, I think some of his teachings, they can be pretty hard to grasp.
It is a shift in perspective.
It is. It's like turning the traditional view of reality on its head.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying that we're at the mercy of our external circumstances, he's saying, no, We actually have the power to shape those circumstances through our thoughts, beliefs, and feelings.
Exactly. And that power comes from our imagination,
Yeah.
which he saw as this divine gift,
Yeah.
this tool that allows us to tap in to the creative force of the universe.
It's amazing. So it's not just about wishing or hoping for things to change. It's about us consciously choosing the reality that we want
Yes.
and using our imagination to bring it into being.
And, at the heart of that process is this idea of feeling. Remember the Neville, he always said that feeling is the secret to manifestation.
Feeling is the secret.
It's about fully immersing ourselves in that feeling of the wish fulfilled as though it were already true.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. It's so crucial. It's not enough to just think about what we want, but we have to actually feel it, experience it, embody it.
Yeah. He used that analogy of an actor playing a role.
Oh, yeah, that one.
A good actor, they don't just recite the lines. They inhabit the character. They feel those emotions. They become that role.
Yeah.
And Neville believed that we can do the same thing with our desires.
Huh.
We can become the person we want to be, experience the reality we want to create by fully immersing ourselves in the feeling of it.
It's like we're stepping into a new costume, a new role, allowing ourselves to fully become that version of ourselves.
Become it. Exactly.
Mm.
And that's where that power of revision comes in.
Yeah.
Neville believed that we have this power to revise our memories, especially the ones that are carrying those negative emotions or limiting beliefs. It's not about denying the past, but it's about consciously choosing a more empowering perspective.
So we're editing the movie of our lives.
Yeah.
We're cutting out the scenes that don't serve us and replacing them with the scenes that we want to create.
And that revision process, it can be so freeing.
Yeah.
Because it allows us to release the grip of the past.
Yeah.
And step into this new narrative, a narrative that empowers us to create a more fulfilling present and future.
Now, one of the things that I think is so fascinating about Neville is his interpretation of the Bible.
Yes.
He saw it as this, profound psychological drama that's playing out within each of us.
I love that.
Can we talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, he believed that those biblical characters and stories and even the places, they represent different aspects of our own consciousness. And he would often use these symbols to illustrate his teachings. For example, he used the story of the prodigal son to represent that journey of the soul from separation to reunion with the divine. And he saw the Garden of Eden as this symbol of a pure state of consciousness where everything is possible, a state that we can return to by reclaiming the power of our imagination.
Wow. Okay, so for Neville, the Bible wasn't just a religious text. It was this guide to understanding our own minds and unlocking our potential as creators.
Exactly. He challenged us to move beyond literal interpretations and see the deeper psychological truths contained within the Bible.
So we're not just reading the Bible for moral guidance.
Right.
We're using it as a roadmap to master our own minds and shape our reality.
Yes.
That's amazing. And remember, Neville wasn't just a theorist. He was very practical in that he offered techniques to help us.
He did.
To put these principles into practice. And one of the techniques that I really like is the I am affirmation.
Yes.
Based on that biblical quote, I am has sent me unto you.
Yeah.
And he believed that by consciously affirming our desired state with that I am statement, we align ourselves with the power within, and we set that process of manifestation in motion.
Yeah. So instead of saying, I want to be healthy, you would say, I am healthy.
Exactly. I am healthy.
And feel that reality.
Oh. And feel the reality. Okay. And another technique is visualization.
Yes.
Right.
Powerful.
He believed that by creating these vivid mental images of our desires, we impress them upon our subconscious mind, which then works to bring them into being.
Make them real.
So if we want to manifest a new home, we would visualize ourselves living in that home, feeling the joy and gratitude of already having it. We would make those visualizations really rich with sensory details.
Yes.
Engaging all 5 senses. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste.
To make them feel real.
To make it feel real.
Yeah.
As real as possible.
The more real you can make it in your imagination,
Yeah.
the more powerfully it's going to imprint on your subconscious. And the more effectively it's going to manifest.
Wow. Well, this has been an amazing journey exploring Neville Goddard's teachings. And, we've covered his unique interpretation of the Bible, his emphasis on the power of imagination and feeling, all these practical techniques.
Yeah.
It's pretty inspiring to think that we have this incredible power within us to shape our reality.
It is. And it's important to remember this is a journey, not a destination. It's
Yeah.
about continuing to explore these ideas, experiment,
Yeah.
and expand your awareness of what's possible.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling inspired or even a little bit intrigued, I would say go check out Neville's work for yourself
Yeah,
and see how these principles resonate with you. You might be really surprised by what you discover within yourself.
might be. And remember, as Neville said, you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. Choose wisely, create consciously, and live that life of your dreams.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Did you get any of that?